So I've been getting a lot of questions on how to bank as a world citizen, a digital nomad, or just a world traveler, and well, that's what we'll be covering in this video here. So just a quick disclaimer before we get into the video, I don't have any affiliation with any of the banks mentioned in this video, and I do not plan to get any affiliation nor kickbacks from any of the banks mentioned in this video. All the banks are just banks that I personally have used, or people I trust have used and continue to use, as they, well, are digital nomads and world travelers themselves. Some of the banks may have sign-up bonuses, so I'd encourage you to search in Google the bank's name plus sign-up bonus or promotions. But I'll try to include any promotions I'm aware of down below in the video description. But I'd encourage you to search at if you do decide to sign up to one of the banks, because oftentimes they'll have a small sign-up bonus ranging from anywhere from $50 all the way up to $1,000 depending on what type of account you're opening. To start with personal banking, if you're a US citizen, you're going to want to go with Charles Schwab. Yes, they are a brokerage account, and yes, when you sign up you will open a brokerage account as well. However, their bank account is the best. They don't seem to close it no matter how long you're outside of the country, and they offer ATM rebates and no foreign transaction fees, and you can also use many banks around the world to actually deposit money into your account as well, and it's easy to do mobile banking with them. You can submit checks and transfer funds very easily. Charles Schwab also offers free wire transfers. I'm unsure of exactly the limits on that. They don't offer it on all accounts. However, I know in my account, once I had around $100,000 in it, then they started to give free wire transfers. And even though the account has dipped below that as I've transferred brokerage assets to a different brokerage, they still seem to give me free wire transfers. So just something to keep in mind. They do seem to have very low fees. They also have no banking fees like monthly maintenance fees or anything like that. So in my opinion, they're the best option if you're a US citizen or a resident of the US. I believe you can still open an account if you're a resident. As for personal banking for non-US citizens, if you have a Dubai company or are a resident of Dubai, obviously you're going to want to do banking there. They are fantastic banks. They have very good regulatory requirements for banks, and because of how the banking system works there, they do not engage in a lot of risky lending practices. So I'd say the banks there are actually safer than most other jurisdictions. It's just if you do not have a Dubai company or a Dubai residency, it is kind of hard to open a bank account in Dubai and actually use it for a lot of different transactions. So only go to Dubai for banking, in my opinion, if you have a Dubai company or plan to live there. Now, if you don't have a Dubai company and you don't live there, you're going to probably want to go with DBS Bank in Singapore. They have very low fees as well, and overall it's very easy to bank with them. Alternatively, if you want a US bank, say if you deal with a lot of payment processors, you might want a US bank anyways that's personal. And Axos Bank in the US, they generally, like in my experience, they open up accounts for non-US citizens relatively easily. And yeah, they're what I'd recommend because Charles Schwab does not allow non-US citizens to open the bank account as far as I'm aware. Obviously, there are some other jurisdictions where it's not bad to get a personal bank account. However, these are the ones where generally it applies for anyone who's living around the world, regardless of where you live or if you're perpetually traveling. But if you own a property in a specific country, say you own a property in Albania, it is wise to generally open a local bank account with an Albanian bank to pay all the different government fees and property fees, as well as generally to have a bank account in the country to deal with locals. But really, the other banks for personal banks will depend on your circumstances. These banks are really meant to be for anyone. Now, for business banking, it's a bit simpler. For US citizens, honestly, your business bank doesn't really matter. Most of them have similar fees and requirements. I've heard a lot of good things about Mercury Bank for business banking in the US, but I haven't personally used them. When I was a US citizen, I used Chase for my business account. And they were fine, nothing great, but honestly, in my experience, it doesn't really matter what business bank you're using as a US citizen. For non-US citizen business banking, if you have a Dubai company, obviously you're going to just be banking in Dubai, but otherwise you generally will want to bank in whatever country you do business in, or your home country, wherever you're employed, or run your business from, or where your business is incorporated, sorry. This is because you're going to most likely be taxed wherever your business is incorporated or wherever you're being employed from, unless you have established residency outside of the country. So it's generally just easier to bank in the same country as the business is being ran in. Ideally, if they have an HSBC in your country, that's the bank I generally go with, because they allow a lot of client services at any branches around the world, as well as you can always withdraw free from ATMs anywhere in the world from HSBC friendly banks. Otherwise, or preferably in my opinion, you're going to want to go with a US bank for your business dealings, such as Mercury or Axos. And the reason for this is when dealing with payment processors and a lot of different financial dealings within or directed towards US clients, it's much easier to have a US bank to be able to resolve this. A lot of payment processors will not actually send funds to non-US accounts, or they'll require a lot of extra anti-money laundering requirements. Keep in mind though, opening a business bank account in the US as a non-US citizen, even with Mercury and Axos, is quite difficult. You're going to need to have actual revenue. You're going to need to have an actual business. You're not going to just be able to be a sole proprietorship, doing a little freelancing. No, you need an actual business if you're going to open a US business bank account. Okay, so for add-on and facilitation accounts, you're going to also, regardless of if you're a US citizen or not, you're going to want to have a backup personal bank account and maybe even a business bank account that's a backup. Ideally a multi-currency account as well. And this is just to facilitate payments regardless of where you are in the world, and in case any specific bank or country has any banking issues, sanctions, or just general difficulties in accessing it when you need it. The backup account doesn't need to be great or no fee, low fee, or anything like that, like the other accounts I've mentioned before. Really, it's just to have any account as a backup in case you lose your card, the first bank closes down, or just any issues really arise. It's essential to have a backup account to keep things moving along in case something unexpected occurs. Now, beyond a simple personal and business backup account, I'd also recommend having a good multi-currency account for a variety of reasons. One, it's very easy to get proof of address or proof of residency to give to other banks using such an account. Personally, I use Wise, TransferWise, for this reason. But also it allows you to do a lot of one-off transactions or transactions to people you may meet or be doing business with that you don't necessarily want to be attached to your primary bank. There are a few reasons you might want to do this. It's cheaper and there's less fees sending money to foreign countries when sending it through a multi-currency account like TransferWise. But then also, more importantly in my opinion, you just get less questions from your bank. If you're sending a lot of different transactions, some banks will close you down if you're sending transactions to foreign countries a lot, or just many transactions or large amounts. You can mitigate the risk of them doing this and closing your account, or simply wanting to verify what's going on and calling you by simply using a facilitation account such as TransferWise to act as an intermediary between your bank and where you keep most of your money in business dealings and the smaller transactions you might be doing to personal friends, family, or just general transactions that are not business related. Just a quick tax disclaimer before we end this video. If you're a non-US citizen, try to avoid banking in your home country if at all possible. If you are not already a tax resident and you don't work for a company within the country, you're not 100% sure you have to pay taxes there, try to not bank in your home country because it can tie you to the tax system. Even if you only have a bank account there and everything else of your life has been moved out, there has been cases, particularly in the case of like Australia and the UK, where they have went ahead and demanded taxes from people, back taxes, for even 10, 20 years of them expatriating, simply because they still had a functioning bank account and they did most of their banking within Australia or the UK, whichever was their home country. So if you are a non-US citizen, ideally bank outside of your home country just to avoid any potential tax consequences, at least if you're not already expecting to pay taxes in your home country. So to close out this video and just to reiterate, if you're going to be living a global lifestyle and you want to just avoid any shutdown or fraud risk, you're going to want to have 2 personal accounts at least and 1 or 2 business accounts to do all your banking, as well as at least 1 facilitation account, such as TransferWise. This will mitigate your risk and ensure you don't have any major issues. Of course, if you have any local property in a specific country, you're going to want to open a local bank account there. But this is a general setup I'd recommend for most people who are going to be world travelers or generally a global citizen that lives in a variety of countries. If you have any questions or advice about this topic, feel free to start a discussion down below in the comments section. But with that being said, bye-bye.